Wait, don't you have to present it?
Go.
Okay. Looking at the face value of these two images, both of them are of men wearing wigs. The painting is of men wearing powdered wigs, which was very common for men of high status at the time. However, the picture is of a male in transition into becoming a woman, which isn't as common or accepted in today's society. The picture depicts a man going through the process of becoming a female, an example otherwise known as being transgender. Being transgender means that an individual doesn't feel or agree with themselves in their natal bodies. Instead, they would hope to change genders. The controversy surrounding this topic leads to how important it is.
So, the controversy surrounding transgender issues in the political world is a delicate matter. When dealing with the legal matter of transgender rights and protection, it's important to work through these conflicts in order to help and protect transgender equality.
The societal cultural lag, the material culture of the transgender community, meaning that the physical changes will move quicker and happen more efficiently than the non-material culture, which is essentially rooted in the beliefs and values which would cause this lag.
So in the medical advancements and innovative fields, many new transgender procedures are being augmented upon from what was previously practiced in the 1900s, and which is when transgender procedures were first brought upon. And nowadays there's lots of money that's going towards these procedures, and healthcare and politics and social issues also develop around doing these procedures and the people who carry them out. And an economic reevaluation is also needed for this, since transgender people are often discriminated through public health systems, and therefore their household incomes and their workplaces and many other aspects of the daily life, they're not able to accumulate enough economic profit.
Based on these aspects, we lead to the question, should the National Institute of Health invest more funding into transgender research and awareness? The discrimination the transgender community faces is immense. The American Psychological Association found that transgenders have a sense of not belonging, but also discrimination, harassment, and sometimes lethal violence and denial of basic human rights. And the National Transgender Center for Equality poll that the transgender community concludes that 63% of participants experience serious acts of major impacting their lives emotionally and financially. However, there is a silver lining to the challenges this community faces. There is unity. However, in the state of North Carolina, there is a law that states which bathrooms transgender people can use in public schools and government buildings. However, President Trump has said we need to leave this situation alone. The cost of building separate bathrooms in public buildings is too extravagant, and he feels that it would discriminate this community even further. They essentially should be able to choose whatever bathroom they want to use. The public also agrees with Trump. 75%, according to an ONC international poll, says that they favor laws agreeing equal protection for transgender people in jobs, housing, and in public accommodations. This results in a legal solution, because both the public and the federal government agreeing on something could aid in the possibility of a future Supreme Court case. The case in 2015 that was due to discrimination of the LGBT community was Obergefell versus Hodges that made it now legal for people part of the homosexual community to get married in all states. Because that had to do with discrimination of a community, the transgender community could have something mirrored like that for the benefit of them. Another benefit of a Supreme Court case is the fact that it would annihilate or overrule any state law that is in place and that would be deemed illegal. So the state law of North Carolina wouldn't be intact. Sociologists, however, could argue that a Supreme Court case might not be enough due to the cultural lag of the situation. Even though there would be a law in place protecting transgenders, the values and beliefs of our society are harder to infiltrate and change in such a swift manner as in placing a law. The NIH should invest more funding into transgender research and awareness, because the more people know about the point of view of the transgender community and the challenges they face, society would be reshaped to be more accepting, and the federal government would be more progressive in the fight to protect all citizens.
So support for transgender research and awareness pertains directly to the individual's body as well. So transgender research may be the key to unlocking parts of the brain that deals with things such as gender determination. And psychobiologist Antonio Guillamon and neuropsychologist Carmen Junque Plaja examined the brains of trans people and noticed that their brains were more similar to the ones of their preferred sex. The picture shown here is a map of the hardwiring of a female and male brain, with the female brain on the left and the male brain on the right, showing that there are biological differences in the brain. And another study by Christina Olsen found that trans children consistently adhere to their preferred sex over the natal one, showing that being transgender isn't just a phase. Of course, there are opponents of scientific research of transgender studies because some believe that there is no scientific basis or biological one for a transgender. The traits determining genders are just too fluid to be put under any scientific explanation. And others believe that putting science ideals onto transgenders is a way to normalize transgenders and making it heteronormative, and putting gender expression in the box rather than letting transgenders choose what gender they choose to express. Of course, science studies also promote the acceptance of transgenders. So in a 2010 study by Center for American Progress, it was revealed that 20 to 40% of homeless youth are either gay or transgender, and 22% of gay and transgender students reported being physically attacked in school, and that's only the amount of people reporting this. By allowing science to flourish for transgender studies, it also facilitates the acceptance of transgenders, which is a struggle that most transgenders face in their everyday life. Scientific research for transgenders also help promote their overall physical and mental health. With the expansion of new transgender treatments such as hormone therapy and sex reassignment surgery, there's a crucial need for research on these treatments. For hormone treatment, there's a concerning lack of data and clinical research for such a life-changing medication. Harmful side effects are prevalent in hormone therapy, and yet there's little being done to counteract these side effects. There's also a lack of trans-competent, qualified, and willing health professionals, which leads to the harmful activity of self-administration. Trans youth recklessly take medication, which can lead to severe complications. Although sex reassignment surgery has been claimed to be a success, that's only the actual surgery itself. After the surgery, mortality rate, suicidal behavior, and psychiatric morbidity rises. The health of transgender individuals isn't just limited to physical fitness. Doctors also need to focus on the psychiatric health of these transgender individuals.
So workplace discrimination and its effects on the transgender people. So while unemployment rates affect many in America, the transgender community is particularly subject to monetary instability more than the general population. The National Transgender Discrimination Research Group conducted a survey that consisted of more than 800 transgender communities, support groups, and organizations. And in these studies, they used this to determine statistics on the workplace and the types of financial experiences that the participating transgender people had experienced or were still experiencing while taking the survey. And a total of 6,456 questionnaires were collected, and out of them, it was revealed that more than 27% of the transgender people reported incomes of $20,000 or lower annually, and more than 15% reported incomes of $10,000 or more also annually. These staggering numbers suggest that the transgender community holistically faces more economic challenges solely based on their gender identity, which oftentimes does not allow them to advance in their careers, and a recent statement released by the Daily Worth news-based reporters suggests that currently it is legal in 32 different states to fire people solely based on their gender identity. This means that a hired person who is qualified enough as any of their other work partners and colleagues can be fired and essentially not be able to gain any more money for their skills and talents just based on how they orient in the workplace. Oftentimes, relating socially, transgender people are seen as pictorial or almost, they are oftentimes immediately classified into typecasts and other categories where they're seen as not useful for the workplace environment, although it is shown that most college graduates who are transgender have higher success rates in the workplace due to their diversity, and this not only helps the individual, but it also helps whatever community or company that they go to work for due to their skills and assets that are being contributed to the place. And household incomes can also become significantly lowered for the transgender people if these rates continue. As more people are becoming discriminated in these workplaces, and although tech giants and major companies are promoting equality and rights in the workplace, many other small startup companies are not doing so like this. So that results in these staggering numbers that show that transgender people do generally have lower household incomes, and therefore that affects their ability to raise families or have any sort of future support systems for the rest of their lives. And this is similar to another feminist movement that's currently going on, where females in the workplace are trying to get equal pay to males. This can also be related to the transgender community, since they're also trying to set their base salary equal to those of their colleagues. If this is not possible, then the feminist movement is another movement that can be looked upon for the transgender community as a success that's still going on, and why they should be given the same amount of money. And implications of transgender needs. So a 2012 needs assessment of transgender people reports that 44% of those surveyed said that access to transgender healthcare was one of their most significant needs. This shows that most of the people in our community nowadays face challenges to access to correct healthcare that can provide them with procedures that are not flawed and to the right kind of doctors and medical aid that they need. Currently, many transgender people who go to receive any sort of sex reassignment procedures or hormone therapies are subject to inefficient medication, and those that are not certainly certified by the FDA and NIH and people like that. And also many transgender people, as a result, go out of the country to get procedures done, which is very unsafe for their health. And this also affects the economy of the United States, since now the healthcare system is also not being as reputable, and doctors and health insurance companies are not getting. And also the Atlantic News Journal reported that transgender surgeries are close to $20,000 to $30,000 in a one-time cost, and approximately $10,000 a year to keep replenishing these hormone supplements that they essentially receive annually. This is a very staggeringly high number that shows that transgender therapies and needs are way higher than those of normal people, and those with heart disease and other dietary issues, their costs are covered by insurance companies much more than people of homosexualities, just because of their orientation.
And then it comes down to one point. The promotion of transgender research and awareness by the NIH can only benefit transgenders and others as well, in order to promote the happiness and tranquility of all citizens. Our answer to our research question is yes, the NIH should provide more funding for transgender research and awareness.
12:40. Okay, 12 minutes, 40 seconds.
Alright. First one. Sophia, having finished your project, what, if anything, do you consider to be a gap in your team's research that, if addressed, would make you feel more confident about your conclusion?
With my legal solution of a Supreme Court case, it leads to the decision of the Supreme Court, obviously, and because it is it's a lifelong position of being in the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court justices, they probably do not have this progressive view, and would therefore knock down possibly a Supreme Court case, even though President Trump agrees with this. This is only my view, because even though Congress is Republican right now, they don't have these progressive views as Trump does, which he was shot down in during the campaign. So if we more focus on who the Supreme Court justices are currently, that would maybe make my research question, maybe make my solution of legality be less strong due to the fact that we don't know their positions on transgender rights.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Okay, Gayatri, what is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided to exclude from your team's presentation, and why?
So one thing that we decided to exclude was in the healthcare system and relating back to the sciences. Many transgender procedures are not often, but they are quite unsafe sometimes, and it depends on who administers the procedure, and some doctors may not even be certified to do some procedures and may be doing it just for monetary gains. So we decided to exclude that part of the research, since this could negatively impact how we see transgender sciences as a whole, and that could impact the progressiveness of trying to get transgender people to get access to the right type of healthcare and go to the right insurance companies and push for better coverage so that they do not have to go outside the country and resort to illegal procedures to get their correct orientation that they desire.
Melissa, describe how the content of the team presentation has changed as a result of group discussion.
So originally we had a theology part of this too, since when dealing with such progressive things, religion plays an important part on deciding people's views. But when we actually put together our research, there was so little empirical evidence for the support of transgender research and awareness on the theological part that we decided to exclude it out and instead focus it more on science and health rather than science and theology.